Okay. So I wanted to talk about the SNA a little bit. I was on the previous call and we touched on this.
Could you tell folks what SNA means first? I think it'll still be jargon for people.
Yes, of course. So what it means is social network analysis, and basically the definition of a social network analysis is the process to examine how people and communities are linked or connected and what those connections might mean for how knowledge, influence, or other information are shared across the system. And so this social network analysis is specifically focused on race, racism, and equity. This method will help to strategically develop our network in order to address racism and equity, and in effect be a catalyst to help sustain and advance health equity work, hopefully among our scale communities. There's a number of benefits to a social network analysis, and I believe BC had sent an updated social network analysis synopsis, but these were the 7 that our team worked on. Some of them include while the application of scale content is evaluated and understood across the network, the actual relationship between communities can also be examined and highlight how we've evolved as a social network. The broad participation across the network will clarify different connections, pathways, and reasons for establishing the connections. It will also illuminate how you and your community played a role in social network. As we consider the evolution of scale, the SNA map will help create a picture of our national community and could be a tool to help sustain our continued learning. It also helps to improve partnership functions by identifying opportunities for scale communities to improve connectiveness or reduce redundancy in program work. So I just read a few of them, but you're welcome to look at all the bullets here. I believe that was sent out last week. And this is going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to complete the online survey. It'll be distributed through Qualtrics via email, and another 20 to 30 minutes potentially for a follow-up call to validate the findings. What we're hoping for is to approximately recruit 3 to 5 core community representatives, including the tripod, per scale community, in addition to individuals from the planning and implementation team who have worked in the RRE initiative. This is a visual of a relationship and connections kind of map that was done from meaningful measurement meeting to address implementation. And this is really where the idea came from. And the yellow are individuals and the blue are communities. And this is a very rough draft of what it would look like. Right now, we're in the process. We have our team, which includes Will and David, as well as Tara. We've revised the draft, and we have a good working draft now. I'm in the process of finalizing those edits, and then we'll be doing one more revision. It'll go to the implementation team, and we'll be piloting this with Southeast Raleigh. And I believe Melvin and Laura will give us feedback for any kind of questions that seem to raise a red flag. If you have any questions, if you're interested to participate, please email me. My email, and I can also put it in the chat if I can get in. Sorry, I'm trying to find the chat button and I can't. But it's rumana.rabani at, I think I have to stop share. It's rumana.rabani@unc.edu. And I'm putting it in right now. So please let me know if you have any questions. I received an email from Laura and Melvin, and I believe from Seth. If you'd like to join and be a part of the SNA analysis, please directly email me and let me know, and we'll make sure you're added to the list. Those interviews should be taking place by the end of the month. Thank you.
Rumana, a few quick questions. By when would you like people to get back to you?
The sooner you can let us know that if you're interested to be a community that's part of this social and network analysis, especially if you've been active in RRE, the better. And the more communities we have, the better that would be, because there's less gaps in analysis. So if you're sure that you'd like to be a part of it, or not really sure but you have questions, just please email me today, anytime this week or next week. But the sooner you email us, the better it would be.
Great. I'm going to say, please email them by next Friday, because soon is not a time. And yeah, I think this would be great, and I want folks to do it. So yes, please email Rumana by next Friday at the very latest if you're interested. Thanks, Rumana.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Great. Moving on.
I'll just say, Laura had a question. I wonder if Rumana can very briefly address that. It's in the chat. I can read it. In one or two bullets, how will participating in this benefit a community? It looks like Rumana is chatting that in, so look for that in the chat.
Thank
and
you.
We'll let BC take us forward.
Great. So, Young, if you're on the call, do you want to walk us through our norms?
Sure. Hi, this is Young. So just for, again, our proposed norms, you can also refer to the touchstones, is that there should be shared decision-making and accountability. There should be regular check-ins on workload and what is possible. Prioritizing a limited set of topics within your broad topic areas to complete by July 31st, rather than getting partially done covering many topics. Remembering to use live stories, journey maps, toast products, and other existing materials where relevant, and that always looking for synergy with other work groups or with 100 million lives, and identifying potential new modules for Chai that might come from your work. Thank you.
I'm not sure if Liz is on.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I was getting off mute. So again, we wanted to remind you all that Live Stories is a great storytelling platform that's available to you. If you need assistance getting onto the platform, please let us know and we're happy to help you. We know that not everyone is choosing to use Live Stories, but if you're interested, we will also have an implementation guide example on Live Stories from the Daily Mile team this Friday if you're interested in taking a look. If so, please reach out to me directly via email, and I'm happy to forward it along to you once I have it on Friday. We think it might be, for those that are hoping to put their implementation guide onto Live Stories, we think it might be a great example to look at and give you an idea of what is possible. We're also working on creating a cover sheet for those that are putting together like more of a Google document or Microsoft Word document, and we'll have more information in the coming weeks. Next slide, please.
So, Paul, would you like to walk us through a little reminder on copywriting?
Yes. All right. As I think folks know, we've got 2 hours allotted for each of the work groups, and I'll say the work groups minus the journal articles that the evaluation team is working on, and that our copywriter, Rebecca, worked for us for Scale 1.0 and has worked for us a lot for 100 million. So she's pretty familiar with lots of a lot of the concepts that you all will be writing about. And so we're trying to get an idea of when to allot her time. And so we're suggesting that, you know, most of the work groups have reviewers on them. Those are the people who have, you know, sort of the less hours than the writers and contributors. So the process is to, as you've got your drafts, send them to the reviewers to review, and then someone from the Scale implementation team, meaning Liz, BC, Chelsea, or I, will review, and then we'll send it on to the copywriter. And you know, the goal is to really have a solid draft so that we use Rebecca's time efficiently and effectively. And Liz, I think the time has passed for folks to ask for additional hours of Rebecca's time. Is that true, or is there still an opening for that if folks are finding that they think they might need more than 2 hours of her time?
The time it passed, and so I think we're going to proceed with the 2 hours, although there is a little bit of flexibility potentially. So if folks find that they're in a pickle, they can reach out to us as well.
Great. And then we're trying not to have all of us turn it in to her on July 29th or 30th. You know, gold stars and our gratitude forever if you can get things to your PM. Again, it's either Liz, Chelsea, BC, or me. You know, mid-July would be great. Yeah, but you know, do what you need to make it a strong draft before we give it to Rebecca. Any questions about copywriting before we get to the next slide? All right, let's go to the next slide then. And just another reminder to please continue tracking items that you think should be in the glossary of terms. And, you know, sort of that good rule of thumb is if you don't think the general audience would know about what it is, it needs to go into the glossary of terms. We can't always be jargon-free, but when we do have to use jargon, we want to make sure it's in the glossary of terms. And then just a note, Rebecca, our copywriter, will also be flagging jargon in the read-through. So if you see that she has said something is jargon or asked for an explanation, that's a good signal for you that it belongs in the glossary of terms. And I'm wondering, can someone copy in that link so that it's easy for everyone to see? But feel free to add to it. Of course, look first to see if it's already in there. We've got a ton in there, but I've flagged, I think, about a dozen things in one of my papers that I'll be adding. Thanks, Liz. Any questions about the glossary of terms? So I'll just say, when in doubt, go ahead and put it in the glossary of terms, because, you know, I would say if you've got any doubt that it's a term that the general population will understand, I'd rather have that glossary be bigger than needed than smaller.
Paul, I'm laughing. This is Laura. Oh, this is one of the few times less is not more.
Exactly. I know. Yes. And so true. This is one of the few times that we'll say, yes, more is likely better. So
yeah,
keep adding.
One of the few times. All right, we'll do. Thank you.
That's the exception that proves the rule.
There you go.
And I am complete.
Great.
Thank you so much, Paul. This is Chelsea. We're going to talk again about our work group updates. I just chatted in the spreadsheet, and before we break out for 5 minutes for individuals to add and review the updates within the spreadsheet, there's also going to be a column where we are collecting dates for when you do expect to have a copy ready for the copywriter to review. It's okay if this date is an estimate. We just would like to make sure that the copywriter, Rebecca, has enough time on her schedule and knows when the work will be coming in. And also, as you review the different updates on the spreadsheet, just think about any synergies, if you have any with any other work groups, and please feel free to let us know if you have any asks or offers. So we're going to pause for 5 minutes as individuals are brought up to speed, and we will regroup at 1:36.
Hi, folks. Just another quick reminder to please mute yourselves when we are not speaking. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we have about a minute left to finish up your updates and write in when you expect to have a draft complete. And another reminder, please put yourself on mute as individuals finish up this portion. Great. And next slide, please. So following kind of a semi-ORD guide or an ORD-inspired questions, what did you all learn from looking at each other's reflections? Feel free to either type it in the chat or verbalize. Liz wrote in the chat that everyone is on a similar trajectory for having drafts ready. It was interesting for me to see that a lot of people decided on a July 19th deadline and how that's very common for most of the group. Great. Well, if there are any other learnings, please feel free to chat them in or speak them out. Were there any synergies that anyone has been able to identify through going through these resources? Or pieces that, oh, yes, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm wondering if the project managers can maybe spend some time next Tuesday discussing synergies. I'm happy to take some time here, and I think it might take, I think if we took maybe like 15 minutes on our Tuesday ops call, we might find even more.
Definitely. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially since I don't think everyone has had enough time to review the updates yet. If you do have any asks or offers from your specific work group, please feel free to chat them in, and individuals can kind of see if there are any places to connect. I also see that
Marie has a great question. Yeah, go ahead, Chelsea.
Marie said, how can we coordinate in reaching out to scale teams for examples and other pieces of work? Paul, Liz, or anyone else on the line, are there any thoughts on how we would like to do that as a group?
Hi, everyone. I'm wondering if maybe, and I would love others' input on this, we add, as part of this spreadsheet that we are all working in, a list of folks that we are reaching out to so that we can be aware of who others are reaching out to and coordinate and ensure that we're not asking too many communities to do too many things and spreading the wealth in that respect. And I'm also open to other thoughts and ideas as well.
Thanks, Liz. And I'm wondering, and it is just wondering, it's not necessarily promoting, if we did send out, we were telling folks that since Scale's over, we're trying not to just email them constantly. And I wonder if we might do a one-time email to the full Scale 2.0 community to make specific asks. So it's just a question for us to ponder.
Doesn't seem like there are any thoughts on that. Oh, I see Marie chatted in that would be a great idea. So maybe that's something that we can work on during our UPSI meeting next Tuesday.
I love that idea.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I think, Will, you're right. I think everyone is really busy and we know people have good ideas and examples. And so, yeah, I think we'll work for a way to make it easy. And I've been looking for more time to just start going through, and that more time just isn't happening.
Great. Are there any other questions or reflections? And yes, Marie, we'll try to help out. The PMs will try to help out in really highlighting what material we already have. And Will, that's a great suggestion to look at all of the evaluation analysis. I know that I've shared that out to a few of my teams, and that's been very helpful.
I wonder if, to sort of support figuring out the best way to harvest information, maybe folks could send us requests, or as I mentioned before, include in the spreadsheet in a central place what they're looking for. And so the PMs know sort of what we can look for and or might need to reach out to communities for, but just so we have it all together and can start from there.
Where would that be, Liz?
My suggestion is to, and I'm not sure if this is the right space, but to put it just in the same spreadsheet we've been working out of for folks to just plop in like, oh, I'm looking for a community example on using Equity Action Lab. That's the first one that came to my mind.
Like asks and
And
offers.
I just modified ask and offers to include need for examples.
Thanks, Paul. So if folks could
So
put it all
column
there.
D.
Great. Column D. Folks could put it all into column D, then we can chat on Tuesday the best way to harvest that information during our operations call. Yes, thank you, Sarah. The live stories can also be a source of scale examples, and you all have access to those in the resources folder in our shared Google folder as well.
And it looks like there was a question from Holly about whether Amy Budnick is a writer for community PDSAs. I'm wondering if we can quickly answer that. I'll go and look. I remember that she was asked, and Holly, are you saying that you haven't been able to connect with her? I'm just trying to make sure I understand what the challenge is. Huh. And Amy, you're on the call. It looks like maybe Holly's not on the call. Amy, are you working on PDSAs?
I thought I was.
Okay, great.
You know, we have about 25 reports due this week, so I was en route. I couldn't update anything. So I have stuff. I just need to put things together.
Okay, great.
And the last time we had this call, I was testifying, so I wasn't able to be on it. So I feel a little confused, but it's okay.
We have faith in you. We understand you're busy. I'll let Holly know that that you are indeed working on it.
And if you have any questions or need to be brought up to speed on anything, please feel free to let me know, Amy, as well. And this is
I may call you tomorrow.
That sounds great.
Hello, hi, it's Bernice. Hi,
Bernice.
Oh, hi. So sorry. I usually chat in, but I'm driving while on Zoom. So I just wanted to say how incredibly helpful and useful the evaluation team's data has been, the TOAST data, as far as informing the people with lived experience work group our product. So thank you again, Will, Tara, and the whole evaluation team for the amazing resource in terms of in providing a wealth of information to inform our direction. Because I recall that earlier in the call we were asked if there were other areas of resources that have been helpful. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernice. Great. Are there any other questions or comments on the work groups before I hand it over to Liz? All right, if there are any, please feel free to chat them in and we'll answer them over chat.
Thank you. Hello again. I'm going to speak a little bit more about the co-design process that you all have led and really encourage, and thank you for doing that. We're hoping to send a brief survey to help us understand, survey to all of you to help us understand how you've experienced the co-design and spaciousness during the past couple months of the short-term grant, and sort of how we may or may not have improved in those two areas. We'll be sending it out next week and leaving it open towards the end of July, most likely until our next full group meeting on July 26th. And so wanted to give you a heads up and would really appreciate your feedback on how we've hopefully improved, and also what has worked well and areas of improvement, so that we can continue to learn together. And as with last meeting 2 weeks ago, we wanted to follow up a little bit on your use of the debrief template in your work groups and hear a bit more about how it's been working for you. And so I'm going to chat it in as well, because I know some of you had said you hadn't had a chance to use it yet, which is totally okay, and maybe now you have. First, I'd love to hear either through the chat or verbally, what have you learned from the results of your debrief template? I'm going to chat that question in as well. What have you learned from the results of your debrief template? And again, feel free to chat in. And also, oh, thanks, Laura. I'll make sure to grab the correct link. So feel free to chat in your response and or speak aloud.
So this is Laura. I think that, and I'd love to hear from others. I'm thinking specifically of the race, the RE synthesis and caucus work group. And I think what I've learned and been so happy about is truly like we co-design the agenda. Everybody has a piece of the agenda that they lead. But it's been really nice to hear everybody's voice and see them take a real leadership role on in the meeting, before the meeting, and after the meeting. So that's been very, it's made me feel good, and it just is making me believe more and more that co-design truly is possible. Distributed leadership is possible. I am complete.
Thank you so much for sharing, Laura. I also see that Marie chatted in that our work group hasn't had a chance to use it yet. And Melvin wrote that we are truly co-designing. The work group has great cohesion, and that's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Melvin. I'm glad to hear that.
Hi, it's Bernice. For the people at Lived Experience Work Group, it's been an incredible process in terms of co-design and co-leadership. And the debriefing template has played a huge role as far as addressing what's working, what's not working, and even further developing our product in a direction that we hadn't imagined based on feedback in the debriefing template that came up either within the meeting or outside of the meeting. Feedback such as additional lived experiences that help to further shape the direction in some of the sections that we're writing up. So it's been an incredible process of us not only co-learning from one another and utilizing each other's strengths, but also encouraging one another through the lived experiences, since we are focused on relationship building. So it's been sort of a mirroring of what we're doing in our small group dynamic to what we're also communicating within the, excuse me, sorry. I'm so sorry, I'm getting over a cold. To also what we're communicating in our document as a whole. So it's been amazing. that's what I can say. It's been amazing, and we're grateful to have this debriefing template in order to further reflect on the process and the results and the outcomes. And with that, I'm complete.
Thank you, Bernice. That's really exciting to hear. And so great to hear your voice on the call as well. I know you said you just joined by phone. Awesome. I'm going to pause here to see if anyone else has anything they'd like to add about what they've learned so far before I transition to another question. I see that Laura chatted in that the key to truly co-designing is everyone has a role. Out of the gate, we asked people what they were passionate about and to identify a growing edge they wanted to work on during our process. Based on that, each work group member has specified their role during the meetings and between the meetings. That's really great, Laura. Thank you. Something that I'd love to use myself as well. Desi wrote, we've used the debrief template for storytelling. It was nice Sarah sent it out before our call so we could think and reflect more before sending in. That's also a really great idea to send it out beforehand. And Sarah chatted in, Laura, I love that. Awesome. Great, well, feel free to continue chatting in what you've learned. I'd also like to hear from folks if they would do anything to change it or use it differently next time they use it. So do you have plans, I guess, to use it differently next time? I'll chat that in as well. I know last time it sounded like folks were going to continue using it as is, and maybe that has changed. So if there's any way that you might use it differently next time, whether that's the way that you sent it out or changing or updating some of the questions, I'd love to hear it. I see Sarah chatted in that she would consider adding the element that Laura mentioned to the form. That's great. Paul said, I wonder if next time for the opioid change package, Young and he could devise a PDSA if there are any areas they want to improve. Great. I know for myself, for the developing a Sheila-like experience work group, we haven't had time to fill it out during the call, so I've sent it out afterwards, and it didn't look like folks had an opportunity to fill it out. So I think protecting time on the call to fill it out might be something I would do differently. Yes, Laura, I chatted it in earlier, and I'm going to chat it in one more time. Let's see. Whoops. I believe this is the link for the updated debrief template that Laura and Fran put together. Great. Anything else you'd like to add?
This is Sarah. I'm just thinking out loud, but I wonder if I'm going to think about doing this with the Daily Mile work group, but if there would be a way to slightly tweak these questions to sort of have an overall reflection of the process. So not just after each meeting, but like overall in this work, in this summer work group process, how were some of these things for you? And I think it would just involve changing the wording a little bit. But I think that might be a nice reflection at the end when you wrap something up.
I love that idea, Sarah, and it connects really well with our intention around the survey we're hoping to send out. So I think it might be interesting to think on more how we can incorporate some of those questions as well.
Hi, it's Bernice. I love Sarah's suggestion. One of the things that we did in the People with Lived Experience group was at the bottom of the template, there was an opportunity for people to put just general thoughts and sort of a reflection. So it's not part of the grid, but it's at the bottom to write any additional thoughts that might not be in the categories within the template. And so we started doing that for 2 meetings so far, in terms of those additional thoughts to create that space.
Awesome. Thanks, Bernice. I see that Sarah chatted in, that's cool. And I think that's a great idea as well. Thank you for sharing. Great, so I think a few next steps actually surfaced from this. For example, the Chile-like experience work group is going to try to protect space during today's call for folks to fill it out. I also heard Sarah say that she is considering adapting this worksheet for kind of reflecting on the entire 3-month process. And Sarah's also in the chat said that she would consider adding the element that Laura shared about, so sort of asking out of the gate what people are passionate about and what their growing edges are. Are there any other kind of next steps or ways that you might use what we've reflected on today to apply it to this debrief form moving forward? Okay, well, if there are, feel free to chat those in. Next slide, please. I believe I'm on point for this slide as well, so I'm going to go ahead. Our next meeting will be July 24th from 1 to 2:20, same time, different day. As I mentioned before, we're hoping to send out a survey next week to understand how co-design and spaciousness has gotten better over the 3-month period and learn to be able to apply to future months of our work. Also a reminder to add in synergies and workgroup updates to the update spreadsheet linked there. And within that, we did, Paul had updated column D so that folks can include some resources that they might be looking for, and then our ops team will meet on Tuesday and think about the best way to collect and find those resources for your work groups. Also, please send materials to workgroup reviewers and PM for review before sending it to us to hand off to Rebecca, our copywriter. And include any additional words or jargon into the overall glossary of terms document that we linked in the chat and also is in sort of the larger folder structure that we all share on Google. Any other next steps that I might have missed? Great. Next slide, please. Thank you all so much. If you have an opportunity as you're hopping off the call and can share a couple of pluses of things that went well today and deltas of ways we can improve this call moving forward, we'd love to hear from you. We only have one more call left on the 24th and would be glad to incorporate suggested changes. And I guess that unless folks have anything else they'd like to add, which I'll pause here before transitioning. Anything else we want to chat about? I got ahead of myself. Great. Well, thank you all so much. And again, please share some pluses and deltas before you hop off the call, and we'll speak in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I'm excited to see what all these work groups have come up with.